Now, there's no doubt that one of the most fun things to upgrade in your car, but sometimes challenging today, is the source unit. The source unit provides a multimedia center, a display, and interactivity, and customization options. And one brand really excels at this, and that is, of course, Sony. Today, we've got their product experts, both Kris Bulla from Sony, as well as Gord Brown from their Canadian distributor, Gentech International, joining us. And we're going to go a deeper dive on all the great features that really make Sony source units stand out. This is CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM, all about Sony source units. And it starts now. What's going on, guys, and welcome to another CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, and you are tuned into CMA Networks, where we talk mobile electronics day in and day out. On the menu today, Sony source units. Man, these units are not only high-end, they're beautiful, they're loved by all, but they feature a lot of important technology and other options that make them stand out. We're going to do a deep dive on that, and to help us on this journey, we have their product expert, Kris Bulla, joining us now. Kris, you've been on here before. We've talked about everything that is possible about source units, but really, I think what we're going to do today is have a deeper dive on all the really important reasons why Sony needs to be considered when making that critical decision.
Hey, Ben, I love getting together with you and the crew at CMA Networks, and of course, with our partners over at Gentech International. These guys are rock stars. And yeah, I love diving deep on all of our products. So I'm happy to talk about some of our technology and some of the reasons you guys really need to be considering Sony as your source unit upgrades in a vehicle.
All right, really excited to get into it with you guys. But first, a reminder from our partner, SiriusXM, telling you that it's always a great add on sale. And when we come back, let's get into what makes Sony tick when it comes to source units. Don't you dare go away.
Hey, Paul here with SiriusXM, and I'd like to talk to you about attachment selling and why the SiriusXM product is one of the best things to add, especially since we don't trade dollars with any other category. I could go through all of this, but let's hear what some of our dealers have to say.
It's an easy add-on that takes, 10, 15 minutes if we're running an antenna, 1 minute if we've got an adapter to plug it into the factory SiriusXM antenna, and it's extra money, so no brainer.
I present it to every customer because a lot of customers don't know what all they can do with Sirius. They don't know what all content they could have. It just makes too much sense not to sell it.
It creates a different customer loyalty and customer security when you explain to them why it's a better experience. Just gets them back in the door. And then the next car, they're already asking for it again. So it just keeps selling itself. It makes more sense.
Well, there you have it. You heard from our dealers. Just remember some of the best practices. Make sure you have one on display so you can demo it. Make sure you're taking advantage of our rewards program, because if you're not taking advantage of that, you're leaving even more money on the table. Make sure you got our POP up on display. And other than that, just make sure you're recommending it.
All right, guys, welcome back to CMA Connected. As mentioned, we have Sony on the menu today. Up top, I'd like to welcome Kris Bulla. Kris, welcome back again to the show. Great to have you. And of course, our good friend Gord Brown, representing Gentech, the Canadian distribution partner. Guys, source units obviously is a big category for Sony. Yes, of course, we'll be able to talk, car audio a little bit later on, but source units is, core business. And, with the advent of mobile ES coming out the last few years, and then also the new models in the core line, there's been a lot of excitement, right? There's been a lot of upgrades, a lot of technology introductions, customization stuff we're going to get into. So starting with you, Kris, you've been all over the world training Sony. What has been the momentum, the feeling, in this category for Sony this last few months, if not year?
Yeah, it's been awesome, actually. There's a lot of energy behind Sony Car Audio right now. Mobile ES certainly kind of injected, some kind of adrenaline into that system, right, which was awesome. But man, we're never sitting still. We're always trying to, take that next big step. And that mobile ES technology, all those features we kind of led with the mobile ES tip of the spear, if you will, have now migrated into our core lineup as well. And man, we've got a great product lineup across multiple categories, and certainly source units is no exception to that.
I love what you say there. It's something that you preach often, and that is that trickle-down technology for mobile ES. We first see some of these cool features come out in a mobile ES unit, but now the value in some of the core lineup stuff that we're going to talk about, like in the 8500, the 6000, this type of stuff, is really beneficial, especially at the price point. So, Gord, with the advent of all these new products, I know that Gentech has done a lot in promoting it, in the Canadian industry. We see you very prominent at the CMA Expo. And we see your trainings, right? They're full. Now, I don't know if that's because people like Kris, but maybe it's actually because they're interested in the product. So what's the update from a Canadian standpoint?
Hey, thanks, Ben. I think we've all seen how well the product's built. We all know how it works and addresses all of those concerns for the customer. But really, I think what most of our dealers and our customers all have found is that the product's just simple to use. And that's a real key when it comes to car audio now. We've really kind of gotten away from, that esoteric feel where it has to be difficult for it to be good. Sony's found a way to make it work well, and make it work in a simple platform that people understand. So I think that's one of the biggest things that our customers and our dealers have gravitated towards.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to share a little story with you guys. I happened to be in Halifax, Nova Scotia recently, and I just happened to be in the neighborhood of our good friends over at Atlantic Car Stereo. I walked into their showroom, and of course, they have a beautiful showroom. Go over, I check out all the gear, and here's their display board, right? So, of course, they have other brands, and then they have the Sony units on display. And I got to say, the Sony units stand out. Not going to lie. Like, there's a look and a feel that is very iconic and recognizable. And if I feel that, I have a feeling that other people feel that. So there's something to be said about that. I don't know if that's a feature line item on a box, Kris, but I mean, that's got to be, something that's at play.
Yeah, it's not necessarily something that's on the box, but it is consistent throughout many Sony categories, actually. So that user interface, that cross media bar that we call it, is on our car radios, of course. And frankly, I think it's the simplest one to use because we have fewer features. But PlayStation, Sony TVs, home theater systems, they all have that same exact cross media bar experience. So when you take somebody who's maybe used a Sony TV, right, or certainly their kids have used a Sony PlayStation, right, and they now get in the car and they see that similar Sony interface, well, it's just, there's inclined to be able to use it very quickly. And the icons do exactly what they say they're going to do. It's just a very simple one-to-one, interaction with that unit. There's no like trying to figure out what does what. There's no diving into multiple menus, trying to find your way back to the home screen, whatever it is. Simple to use, simple to understand. It's done.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I felt that in person, and I absolutely agree with that statement. All right. So for our agenda today, if you will, I'm going to lean on you, Kris, to kind of give us the technical explanations to make sure we're getting that message, proper from a Sony standpoint. And Gord, I'm going to rely on you to kind of inflect on those points and kind of bring it home for us from a real-time dealer perspective, okay? We've identified a couple key things. The first thing I want to talk about, guys, is user interface. I think we just touched on that, but let's dive a little bit deeper. What do you think, Kris, makes the Sony user interface unique, and why do people love it?
The user interface is the most critical, portion of the experience a customer gets when they're putting a source unit in the car. Sound quality absolutely has to be there, of course. That's the whole reason, the motivator behind the upgrade typically. But the user interface is something they have to interact with the entire time. It's critical for us to make that simple and easy to understand, not just like when you're sitting there tapping buttons, but also while you're driving. So those physical buttons that we have, regardless of what the screen technology we're using is, we have physical tactile buttons that you get an experience when you're pressing it. So you've pressed it. There's no soft touch points or anything like that. Even our soft touch buttons on the 9500 ES have either an audible or a tactile click when you press them, right? So it's pretty awesome stuff, top to bottom on the user interface side. The familiarity of consumers jumping into a car and getting that same experience that they would in other product categories is also a huge plus. But here's the cool part, and something that not a lot of retailers really kind of, take advantage of, but customizing that interface, moving the icons around to suit the customer's needs while they're driving, putting a custom wallpaper on there, moving the clock around to accommodate the wallpaper or the app, kind of layout they have on the screen, is super critical to giving the customer the next level, like one-to-one experience that they want in their vehicle. Customers are all about customization nowadays, right? They customize their phones, they customize their TV screens. Everything that they're doing is made for them. At least that's what they feel like. Why not do the same thing in the dashboard of their car?
Kris, that's right. And, at the end of the day, it's about the simplicity as well. So the fact that it looks good in the car, it matches the aesthetics. It's a very, very clean look to the hardware itself. And then an interface display that complements that and gives you that quick and easy to use experience is ultimately the best of the both worlds and allows our customers to use the product in a simple, clean kind of way.
You know, guys, I have to agree. If anybody's taken the time to press the buttons and kind of fool around with the menus, it is super intuitive. It is super clean. It shows that there is a thought process behind, you know, the actual interface itself. And I think that is not only familiar, like to your point, Kris, but even for a first time user, like let's talk about those people who've never maybe played with, I know that's kind of weird to say, but have never played with a Sony electronic device. It is still very intuitive. So I think that is a very important feature to mention. Which leads me to my second feature we want to talk about, which is connectivity. Now, we all know in today's world, it's all about connectivity. The expectation from the customer at this point, when they spend this kind of money, they expect everything to work. They want their buttons to work, their phone to work, their music to work. So, Kris, talk to us a little bit about the thought process of delivering a product to a customer and meeting those expectations as far as connectivity is concerned.
Yeah, listen, getting your device connected to your source unit in your car, especially if you've ever tried to do this with an OEM system, can be very complicated and weird, right? Just trying to figure out what to hit, what to do, trying to hit the pair thing, at the same time. It's just ridiculous, right? So we have really tried to make this as simple and as robust as possible. We have the latest technology in our source units here that allow connectivity to really any type of device. So Apple iPhones, of course, can connect either wired or wirelessly for Apple CarPlay. Android phones can connect either wired or wirelessly with the Android Auto features in most of our units. In all of our current models, except for the 3200, which is an older generation model, they all offer the same connectivity. The one exception would be the XAV AX3700, which offers wired CarPlay only. So that 3700 only offers wired CarPlay. The rest of our models, however, offer a full assortment of both wired and wireless CarPlay and Android Auto functionality. On top of that, Sony's robust Bluetooth connection is supplemented by our LDAC technology, which is incorporated for higher resolution Bluetooth streaming capability. So whether you have an iPhone or Android device, doesn't really matter for CarPlay or Android Auto. If you just have a portable music player, for instance, that you want to connect to it, you can certainly use Bluetooth capability. And if that device is compatible with LDAC, then you can certainly stream at a higher resolution with that. So regardless of the type of phone or device you're trying to connect to our radio, we make it simple and super high quality for you to use.
Hey, Kris, those are great points. And if you remember at the CMA Expo especially, we had a lot of people come to see us at the booth, and the display board showed just how quickly and easily everybody could actually connect their devices. We found that it was super simple. The dealers understood how quickly and easily it was able to connect. But more importantly, for your customer, at the end of the day, they don't want to have a bad experience. So whether you're using a wired or a wireless connection, everything that we've done with the Sony displays over the last few years have all been firmly directed at making sure that connection stays stable, gives you all that information, whether you're looking to get your maps, your music, your notes, whatever it is you want to get on the display, whether it's connected by iPhone, Android, and yes, even Bluetooth for those music player devices. It's a simple solution.
It almost feels as if Sony has taken the time to test these connection methods over and over again before they come to market. Kris, could that be a possibility?
Of course, yeah.
No, all joking aside, it is really simple to use. And if you haven't had the chance to try it for yourself, get your hands on one, and you'll see arguably one of the most seamless, connection methods or experiences that probably exist right now. All right, our next topic is a little bit more advanced for those who don't know, but I'm sure our audience is very familiar with the fact that customers are coming in. They have to spend the money to get the unit. They know what they're getting, but the one thing they don't want to compromise is losing anything. And by that, I mean OEM factory functionality. The solution? Maestro, a great product designed to integrate into vehicles. And there are a lot of radios, and correct me if I'm wrong, which ones or whatnot, I'll let you break that down, that provide this Maestro connectivity, right, Kris?
Ben, it goes without saying that the OEM radios that come in today's vehicles have certainly gotten more advanced. And with that comes a lot of vehicle functionality and control within that OEM screen. So that presents a problem, right? If you're not using something like an Identilink Maestro module to connect with that car and maintain those controls, it's a problem, So from just simply a usability standpoint, in some Toyotas where you might be able to adjust the locks or the light delay when you exit the vehicle, those are like the creature comfort things. But in more advanced kind of scenarios like Fords and some other vehicles where you have some heating and air conditioning controls that pop up on the screen, on the OEM screen for that matter, when you're adjusting things, that's very important to maintain. It's a safety issue, right? So we, with our technology partner, Identilink Maestro, have integrated their Maestro technology, and we are compatible with any vehicle that is compatible with their system to provide those features in our very clean and easy to use Sony interface, right? So really the Identilink Maestro feature set in other competitor radios is fairly similar in the functionality, but the user interface is unique, right, for each brand. And I think what we've done with our user interface that's already easy to use is not complicated with vehicle kind of feature sets and menus, right? So we've made the icons just as simple to use as ours for gauges, climate control, things like that. And you can actually move those around on the screen and rearrange those however you'd like to access them in your new Sony radio in your dashboard. Identilink Maestro is critical in some vehicles. You cannot take those features away from the customer. You want to make sure that they are as good or better than the capability they had from their OEM radio when they're upgrading that. So make sure you're taking note of the vehicle functionality and features that are in that OEM radio and using the Identilink Maestro module whenever you can.
Yeah, Kris, those are all great points. And let's face it, at the end of the day, we don't want to lose features that the customers already have in the car. And the Identilink Maestro interface on a Sony radio in particular gives you a quick and easy method of keeping that in the car while getting that upgrade path to a better sounding, better featured radio. Those are all important things that we want to make sure that we include as we bundle this towards the customer, and gives them a great opportunity to have both upgrades options as well as maintaining those features.
Yeah, no doubt the Maestro is a game changer, especially when it comes to OEM integration. But now we're going to talk about that thing that you just talked about, Gord, which is the path to expandability. And by that, a lot of it has to do with, yes, what we love, sound. We want to increase the quality of the sound, and the source unit is the path to that blissful moment where you turn it on and you're like, yes, this is what I want. So, Kris, talk to us a little bit about not only what's built into the radio, right, when it comes to sound quality or adjustments, but also where this can lead once you get that Sony source unit installed, as far as the features built in and, what's set up for the next step.
Sound and sound quality has always been kind of the genesis of what we do when we're creating car audio products. We love good sound. That's what we kind of hang our hat on, right? So to have a Sony source unit or any other component for that matter not sound great would be like ridiculous in our opinion. So even our base entry-level models like that AX3700 offer the same great sound quality. It offers time alignment, 14-band graphic EQ, and all kinds of really cool filtering capabilities on the front and rear outputs, and even the sub-level output to give you the kind of the setup that you need to get a great sounding system upgrade in a vehicle. If you go up the food chain, you go from 2-volt to 5-volt pre-outs, which gives you greater signal into your amplifier, giving you greater flexibility on designing the sound system that the customer needs and gets the volume and the sound quality they want, right? That's available on the 6000, 8500, and of course our mobile ES units, the 9000 and 9500 ES. And when you get to that mobile ES section of the radios, we add even more items to that kind of sound quality mix. They're the only units in the industry with an outboard sound processing unit on the chip. So that's the ESS 9080Q 32-bit DAC that's built into both of those units. We have a separated soundboard inside, so the analog and digital components are separated inside those units, and they're inside a chassis that resists EMI interference from the vehicle itself. And they offer that 5-volt pre-out section. And they also add something that the other units do not have, and that is that 8-band parametric EQ for all 6 channels coming out of those head units. From top to bottom, we offer great sound quality and system customization to really suit any customer's need.
And then once again, you take all of those cool features that we just talked about and all those tuning features, the sound features, and then tie them into those cool customizable buttons on the front of the display so you can get to them quickly and easily. And it really creates a seamless functioning end experience that everybody can really enjoy.
So, Kris, first thing I want to comment on is something that I feel is very unique, and I should point out. You know that special ESS 908Q 32-bit DAC chip that you mentioned that's in the mobile ES device? This is a high-end brand, right? When it comes to these type of chips, we see this brand have chips in other higher-end, even home audio stuff. So to see a car audio company like Sony incorporate that level chip into a radio, into a car, I think it's worth noting, right? So kudos to Sony for that one. And that's especially for you, sound quality guys out there. Now, as far as what Gord said, I love how you tied it together because although we're at the end of our show, I mean, there is so much customization involved when it comes to the interface. We talked about the ease of use and the fluidity of it all, but let's not discount the amount of customization, whether it's the clock or the home screen or how the icons work. You can really custom tailor the customer's experience from the sound to the user interface, all inclusive in a Sony radio. All right, so to wrap this up, guys, we covered 4 really important points. We talked about the user interface, we talked about the connectivity, we talked about Maestro integration, and lastly, of course, expandability, sound quality, and so on. Kris, final words for anybody who watching this and said, maybe I should check out a Sony radio. What do you have to say to them?
Yeah, listen, I think that this is kind of a no-brainer for me. I'm biased, right? I work for Sony, but we stand alone when it comes to quality, reliability, ease of use, and sound quality, right? It's just so much a great package that we put into that box to put inside a customer's car, right? So I want to make sure that you're exploring those options with your customers, letting them experience the radio firsthand, and getting them the sound quality and the experience that they deserve in their ride. So give us a chance. We've got your back. No problem. We'll support you guys any way we can.
Speaking of support, Gord, maybe you can touch real quickly on the warranty because I think that's super important for dealers to know. And what message do you have for Canadian dealers that are like, you know what, I haven't looked at Sony in a while. Maybe this is the time to do it now.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, the Sony warranty is pretty extensive. It covers from 1 year to up to 3-year warranty, depending on the level of the radios, of course. But what's really important for the dealers in Canada is our warranty is an over-the-counter exchange. So we want to make sure that the experience for the customer is top-notch. No matter what happens, once we determine that there's a problem, we want you to help take care of that customer right away. We do an automatic exchange for you or credit and make sure that your radio is handled, your customer's handled, and the experience is top-notch.
I want to take this opportunity and thank my guests, both Kris Bulla and Gord Brown, for joining us on today's Connected session. For more information, make sure you check out, if you're a Canadian dealer, hit up Gentech International as they are the distribution partner for Sony in Canada. And of course, if you're looking for more specs, details of any of the source units discussed on today's show, head on over to the Sony website. We'll put it on the screen for you right here. I think this was a really in-depth conversation. We really covered those critical points when you're walking and talking to a customer about this type of investment. Yes, the expectation is high, but I think based on our conversation today, Sony pretty much checks all the boxes and delivers, if not exceeds the expectation of the customer. Give it a chance, guys. Play with the buttons. Put one in. Hey, here's a crazy idea. Put one on your board. That's it for this CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.